Welcome, everybody. Episode 31 of Dharma Unfiltered. This is Kastner-lang coming in from the University of Miami in Miami, Florida. It's a warm, probably about 82, 83 degrees here. And we got Kenny Gonzalez on the podcast today. I've known Kenny since probably I think it was like first grade. He had his hood up on the bus and he was kind of shy because he was new there at Dowson Elementary. And I just started talking to him. Me and Austin started talking to him. And I mean, we just became very close friends from then on, and we were main friends, whatever, 15 years later or whatever it was. And so Kenny, introduce yourself and tell the people kind of who you are, where you're from, what you do, and then we can dive into whatever the hell we want to talk about.
All right. Well, first off, I'd like to say thanks for letting me be on this podcast. Well, obviously, you've already mentioned who I am, Kenny, and what I do right now is I am currently in real estate schooling to get my license, and I obviously need a side hustle, so I'm delivering pizzas on the side because you can't live without making some sort of income. And I actually just quit I'd say very valuable opportunity, which would consist of a full ride scholarship and a guaranteed 40 hours a week for 5 years. And I am in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I'm 19 years old. And as you have mentioned, we've known each other for quite some time now.
Yeah, so inform the people a little bit more about, well, I think let's talk about like high school. And then kind of how that led into your first opportunity with Husco, and then kind of like what you're doing now. Because in high school, it was like, to be honest, Kenny, I was always like, what the fuck is Kenny gonna do after high school? Because we were in Spanish together the whole time, but I mean, we were fucking around most of the time in most of our classes. So I was always just, and honestly, like I could always see like potential, but you just didn't want to put the work in. And I totally understand that, because it's like bullshit, like high school classes that probably don't mean anything in the long run for like your success.
Yeah, I would have to completely agree with you on that. I went through most of my high school. I seriously did. Though the one thing I did have my mindset on was becoming a real estate agent. I've known that since my sophomore year of high school, but I never really considered that to real, as a real possibility of what I want to do. But I just kind of let that skim by. It was just always interesting to me, but I never really dove deep into that.
Did you watch like YouTube, like Grant Cardone, like YouTube videos on that stuff?
Oh yeah. So. It just started with some simple YouTube videos. I just wanted to start because, like you said, all throughout high school, I didn't really care for my future and myself and where I'm gonna go. All I cared about was what I'm gonna be doing the following weekend and how I can get by throughout the week without getting yelled at by my teachers for not doing work. Yeah. So I do agree with you on that one. But yeah, you probably thought I didn't really put any of the work in, because I do agree most of the classes, if not all of it, during high school really was not that practical to learn.
Yeah.
As if you want to become a real estate agent, you don't need to learn biology or chemistry.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother issue. I believe that the curriculum in America it needs to be reformed.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother issue.
No doubt. Yeah. So then how did you end up, because it was probably like senior year when you first started getting interested in cars. How did you kind of get into the whole Husco thing?
So that's real interesting.
And kind of explain exactly what that is for the people that don't know.
So first off, Husco stands for Hydraulic Unit Specialty Company. And what they do is that they are a private company that they engineer everything themselves. They build everything themselves. So we have our own machinists, our own team of engineers, and our own team of lab technicians that go out and test what the engineers have told the machinists to build. And the lab technicians give that data back to the engineers. And from there on, if they give the okay, then we move on to the next project, and so on and so on. And we work with companies such as John Deere. We've done Bobcat. We've done Caterpillar. And there is a new automotive section of that company, which works with Ford, GM, Chrysler,
Okay.
Volkswagen as well. So they kind of like do it all.
Yeah.
And how I came about into that was it started with me purchasing my first car that I could like say is my own. And it started with just simply fixing up whatever broke down on it myself. And I realized that was actually a fun hobby. And it was the first hobby I had that was productive and could actually get me somewhere in life. And from there on, I, yeah, but from there on, I was talking to my engineering teacher because at the time I didn't have any of the tools I needed. So I would ask my engineering teacher, like, hey, can I borrow so and so, usually on a daily basis. And we grew like closer together through that. And he basically looked at me and said, this was early senior year. So up until fall of senior year. Which teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, his name was Mr. Bruning.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. And yeah, so that was when I first started noticing what I could possibly do after high school. And he told me, hey, there's this really great opportunity that you could do, and that Husco is doing for the first time ever. And it's called the Husco Scholars Program. And basically what he did is he led me to that program and how to apply for all that. And it was a long process. It was like, I'd say 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
And it started with a tour of the actual facility. So we would go there and tour in groups of like 20 to 30.
Yeah.
And just to like check it out, see if this is something you'd want to do. And if that's something you would like to do, then the next step was to basically just send your high school transcript just to see if you qualify through grades and work ethic. And if they liked what they saw, then the next step was to write a 1,000-word essay as to why you became passionate for engineering and what makes you unique and a valuable candidate. And I nailed that one I got exactly 1,000 words in, submitted that paper in. They liked what they saw, and they asked me to come in for an interview. And this was the real interesting part. So there were about 3,000 applicants, and from that alone, they were able to narrow that down to 6 applicants to the interview process. And that was held at Husco. And when I got to the parking lot, actually, I was dressed in business casual attire, and
would be proud.
And then basically, what one of my buddies, his name is I'll leave his name out just in case if he doesn't want to. Okay. But basically, a buddy of mine, he like called me because I'm running late because I was halfway there. It was a 30-minute drive for me at the time. I'm 10 minute of a drive in, and I forgot some papers I needed. So I had to turn around and then just basically go like 20 over the entire way. And I got there with
TT?
Yeah. and then I get there with 5 minutes to spare, and my buddy calls me up. He's like, hey, where are you? And I was like, I just got here, man. He was like, dude, I had no idea, but we need to give a speech as well. And I was like, what? And then I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, dude, I'm in this room right now, and there's like 50 people in here, and we have to give a speech. And I'm like, what's the speech on or about? And he said, you basically have to go up and talk about essentially what you wrote in your essay but like in different contexts. It was basically what got you passionate into engineering, why you think you are the unique candidate to
Yeah,
be a
but you
part of the
don't have your
program.
paper in front of you. You just have to, as states,
Right, right. So some of the requirements were actually you were not allowed to have any paper on you. Like you couldn't read
what
off
the
of
fuck?
anything.
And you didn't even know that you
I
had,
didn't even know.
what the fuck?
And another requirement was that to be exactly 3 to 5 minutes long, no shorter, no later than that. You have to be right on the money. And so I'm sitting in my car. I'm like, okay, I pull out a timer on my phone. I give one speech to myself. It was 4 minutes and 50 seconds long. I was like, all right, good enough. Time to get in there. And then I get in there, and it was a real interesting interview process. So there were 6 other candidates, and I was looking around the room, and it just 3 of us were like dressed for an interview. Like the other 3 people were like, one of them actually had sweatpants and a t-shirt on, and that was just really astonished by that. I was like, does this
Out
like
of 3,000 kids that applied,
I know it's real interesting. I I was surprised that once they narrowed it down to 6, at least all of us would have been like dressed for
yeah,
the for the event. But from there on, it was about 2 hour interview process. So we had all our CEOs, CFOs, all these higher up management people that were basically sitting there with their scary suits and clipboards. So they looked real professionals. This was the first time I've seen something like this. I was just some high school kid. And then I go in, I get interviewed by 6 different people for groups of 2. So like 6 people, sets of 2, 30-minute intervals. So that would be an hour and a half of interviewing. And then the last half hour was basically the speeches. And my God, so like the first person that went on, he was real nervous, like voice trembling, only was up there for like a minute. He didn't know what to say. I was just like, wow, this is actually making me feel real good about myself here.
yeah.
Um, and then basically all these guys go up. I was the last one to go. And like the whole room was silent. It looked real professional. It was a scary place to be at the time. And so I get up there. I don't exactly remember what I said because it was basically in the heat of the moment. I just had to pull shit out of my ass here. And I just remembered I said something like a little joke at first, and which made like the whole room like chuckle, like it eased the tension. And
Yeah,
from there on, I knew it. I was like, I got this in the bag. Like this is
yeah,
this is
yeah.
gonna be no problem for me because I would say I'm pretty good at that stuff. I'm pretty good at presenting myself professionally.
Well, yeah. I mean, remember the cross country speech?
Yeah. Well, I forgot. I completely forgot about those cross country
It
speeches.
came up in my memories the other day. I saw that it was like BU Schleter was up there. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
so how many people out of the 6 ended up getting it?
3, and I was one of those. And from there on, they gave me a full-time position as a lab technician for the off-highway part of the industry, which is like your tractors, your motor graders, all that stuff. And I was with my friend because he was in the same school as me, same class as me, and we went through this whole process together. So they put us as like a buddy system,
Yeah,
and he left early on. He left about a month and a half in, and I just remembered. I was like, why would you ever throw away this kind of an opportunity?
yeah.
And all
What are
what
you doing on a day-to-day basis?
it's really hard to explain
I'm sure,
because
especially to me, as I don't understand that language.
because uh we literally had zero skill level for the job we were at.
Yeah,
Like all the guys I was working with, the youngest person at the whole facility that I knew of was 24 years old, and I was 18 at the time. Like all these guys were very qualified, like very smart, intuitive people, because this place doesn't just hire anybody.
Yeah.
And so we were just basically doing like cleaning, just like overlooking like the our coworkers and what they would do. We would just follow
Yeah.
them. We would basically be like their helping hands.
Shadow. Yeah.
So that's basically what it was. And he left a month and a half in, and I remembered asking him like, "Why would you do that?" And he just said, "It's not for me." And I said, "Even if it's not for you, like it's a free 4 years of education, and you have a full-time job, so you are making money to go to school and work at this place." And I just remember him saying, "I don't care about that," because the second I quit, I felt like all the weight in the world was lifted off my shoulders and I'm finally happy again. And I was just like, at the time, I didn't think too much of it. I was like, okay, I get that. You do you. This isn't for you. I understand that. And it wasn't until like recently, let me check the calendar here because I know exactly the day I quit. I quit on March 22nd. That was my, or March 23rd. That was my last day working there.
And at the time
And
that he quit, what were your feelings about working
it slowly started to become like a never ending cycle of just work, because I would go in at around, because we got to choose our hours. As long as we got in between the hours of 6 and 5 p.m., we just had to work 8 hours. So I could be in 7 to 3 one day, or be in 8 to 4 or 9 to 5.
there?
It's just, so that was really cool having that kind of flexibility. But the fact that I had to be there, and half the time I wasn't even doing much, it just felt like I was wasting my free time.
You're
And
in all your time. Yeah.
yeah, it's like having like a full-time job like that's super time consuming.
Yeah.
So
And it's
I
not
would,
like it wasn't at all like fulfilling. Like you weren't
right, I didn't,
moving toward anything larger. You know what I mean?
right. It just felt like I was just one of these other workers that, like, don't get me wrong, this company values their employees like insane. Like they treat their employees very well.
Yeah.
Get very well compensated. We get health, dental, like lots of vacation hours. Like it's a great place to work at. But it started to slowly become like I was just living this life of a never-ending cycle of work, work, work. Because I would get off from work around 3 to 4, and then I would sit in this room I'm in right now for about 3 to 4 hours a day doing homework. So I realistically wouldn't be done with my work until around 8 to 9 p.m.
Jeez.
And it was like
Yeah,
that for months on end. Yeah, right. And then it slowly like started to hit me that this isn't what I want to do in my life. And if I keep this up, I'm just going to go crazy. Like, I had to quit for my own mental sake,
Yeah.
because living that day-to-day life of just zero free time, looking forward to Friday nights and dreading Sunday nights, that lifestyle was not for me. It was just taking a toll on my mental health, and I
Sounds
couldn't
like high
take it
school,
anymore.
but worse. You don't
Yeah,
have the
like,
camaraderie of high school, and it's just like work.
right, because in high school, it didn't really feel like work. It felt like you were working towards your future.
For the act.
But yeah, right. But like here, it just felt like I was working to get this degree that I didn't even want in the first place,
Yeah.
to work in an industry I don't want to be at
No.
all.
Right.
So I just thought, why would I keep working here? So that's when it hit. That's when I decided, you know what, I gotta quit. But before I quit, I made sure I had a backup plan, because I don't want to like quit and not have anything to do in my life, because I would just end up probably living in my basement for the next 10 years. And that's not what I want to do. So for like the 2 months leading up to my last day, it just started with a simple YouTube video. I just looked up real estate and watched the first things that popped into my feed. And that's when it clicked. I was really interested in this stuff. And I was really interested in learning about like credit and Roth IRAs, like retirement plans. I was just really interested in financing for my future.
Mhm.
And I thought, like, this stuff is really interesting. I didn't find like engineering, I didn't find any of that stuff as interesting as I did this. So that's when it also hit me. That's when I was like, I'm more interested in something that I'm not even working towards. So that's another factor why I quit. And another reason was I can't focus on that real estate while maintaining a full-time job and schooling. So
Yeah.
it was just impossible. I had to choose one or the other. And I would talk to one of my coworkers or a few of them, and they all said the same thing. They were all like, you know what? Good for you. I'm excited that you're quitting, because some of these guys, even they were all saying to me that they've been working there for 40 years about. And I remember this one guy, he stood out to me real, like he really stood out to me. So what he told me was he first started like back in the mid to late 1900s as just a entry level factory worker, because he started having kids when he was 18, and he didn't have the freedom to go out and do what he wanted. He just needed a set place to work at and make set money and income. And he ended up staying there because he couldn't leave. And when I told him about what I was doing, he said that I was really lucky I'm able to do that. And he said that he also wanted to go into real estate. And every day that he's worked there, he's never been completely fulfilled. He's never been completely happy there. He just puts on that fake smile, to just get through the day. That's when it really hit me. That's when I thought I really have to quit now, or else I'll regret it the rest of my life.
Mhm. Yeah, and that takes a lot to quit, because there's a lot of people that are in that position and that feel like that's like it's such a great opportunity and that there's nothing
Right.
better out there. But to
Exactly.
realize that there is so much more out there is like super like powerful. Um,
Hmm.
just to especially and just to kind of have the belief in yourself that you can do it, that you can take that bit of a leap of faith and leave this big opportunity, this good opportunity, this solid
Hmm.
opportunity behind, and do what you actually want to do. um,
Right.
and now's the time to do it anyway. Like, we're 18 years old, we don't have kids, we don't have necessarily big obligations, we don't have big expenses that we necessarily have to pay on a weekly basis. Like, now's the
Hmm.
time to take the risk, because 10 years from now it could be a whole different ballgame, and your priorities can be completely different. So that's why
Yeah.
you told me that you would quit. I kept saying I'm so happy about that. Because that's all that I want for all my friends. Like, I just want everyone to just do, like, not what's safe, like, to do what they actually want to do, like, in the moment, even if it might take longer to become financially stable, or you might not have that stability at first. Like, to know that you're working towards something that's much greater than yourself, or than they ever even thought was possible, is
Hmm.
super powerful.
Of
Um,
course. That like also like helps your own mental health too. If you're doing something that you like, that you really enjoy, you feel fulfilling doing it, it won't even feel like work in the end.
yeah.
And that's also another reason why I quit, was for my own mental health. I
Mhm.
just felt like this never ending cycle. And I would get home and I would literally have zero energy. Like, I wasn't like tired. I wasn't physically exhausted. I was mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
I would just want to go home, and all I would want to do is sit in my room and just put on some TV and wait until I clock in again. That was basically my life.
Yeah. No, I
And
know exactly. I know exactly. I went through the same shit, dude. Like, last summer, like, I was so sick of, even, I mean, I've said this so many times on this podcast, but from like the end of junior year all the way until I got down here in August, like, I was in like a big, like, my mental was so cloudy. Like, I was like, because I couldn't figure out what it was. And when I got down here and I didn't have the things that I didn't want to do, those obligations, I felt free. Like
Mm-hmm.
the landscaping for me, like I knew, like there's so much upside. There it was really good money. I was doing it with Austin. I was outside all the time, like pretty much working my own hours. But there's something like I just didn't feel fulfilled, and that's what it was. Like I wasn't working toward anything big.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, in the moment, you're just working for that cash income. You
yeah,
just wanted that money for that day and
and
wait till
it's
the
easy
next
to
day.
say like, oh yeah, I'm getting my bread up, but like, what does that lead? Like, it's not.
Yeah, right.
It all goes back to your friend. It's not for me because it is for all. I think Austin loves it. He does. Like he's enjoying it and he's still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not for me. Um,
Right.
and I'm
Exactly. Like,
glad that you were able to acknowledge that too.
mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah. Yeah, like at high school, there are definitely people there that love going to work. There are
Mhm.
definitely people there that are in the right job field, and that's good for them. But not everything is for everyone. And and yeah, like I said, I my mental health was going down, and because of that, and because I didn't have the energy to do anything, I always wanted to like get back into working out because I did that throughout my high school, and it just felt good. It felt liberating. It felt like I was improving myself,
Yeah.
and I couldn't do that anymore. And that also really took a toll on my mental health because I thought like I can't like do the stuff I really want to do, like working out again because of this obligation. And as soon as I quit, I started working out again. I started delivering pizzas. I started my real estate schooling. And even though I'm still busy all the time, like I still am living a busy lifestyle, I feel much more fulfilled and I feel happy. And like right now, it's for me, it's 7:52 p.m. I would probably be almost asleep by now and ready to clock in tomorrow morning. But no, I'm here talking to you, and I'm probably going to be up at the same time tomorrow morning, but I'm going to feel great. I'm going to feel ready for the day. And that's the
Yeah.
difference that I've noticed, which is why I'm really happy I quit, which is
Yeah.
why I'm really looking forward to my future.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like it was like during high school and we would be getting up at like, 6 a.m. and it was freezing cold and I was just like, fuck this. Like it
Yeah.
would take me 15 minutes to get out of bed. Now I wake up and I'm like I'm jumping out of bed, literally. Like I jump out of bed.
Mhm.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Say to my roommate, I'm like, let's
Yeah.
go, get up, get up.
It's a
It's
great feeling.
cool.
It feels really good to be able to wake up at the same time you would for like a normal job or school,
Yeah.
but you're excited to get out of bed. You're like, all right, let's do this. Let's get
Yeah.
this day through. Let's see what needs to get done, and
Yeah.
let's have fun while doing it.
It's really interesting how like the time that you get up can have such it totally like when like getting up at like 6 a.m. for school, that had such a negative like connotation for me. I don't get
Hmm.
up at 6 a.m. now. I get up no later than 7:30 or 7:45. But the
Hmm.
difference is that I'm doing things that I actually enjoy and that I'm not like that's not, going through the same monotonous everyday schooling. That schooling,
Right.
that was rough for me. That was just I felt like I was wasting so much time.
Oh yeah, because you have to be at this place, and you can only do so much.
Yeah,
Like I agree with you. I would wake up for school and I would put in little to no effort at school because I didn't care about being there. I didn't want to be there. And
yeah,
waking up made it that much harder because I knew I had to go to a place I did not want to go. But now I would wake up immediately, I go eat some breakfast. I've been trying to live like a really healthy lifestyle. I've been
yeah. So
trying
what's
to
your
watch
day to day now? Like now that you've quit?
now that I quit. So if before I quit, let's say if I did have work, I my schedule would be I would probably fall asleep in the next half hour, and I would
I like 8:30.
yeah, I usually fall asleep real early,
Yeah,
and that's not me. I'm not a morning person at all.
yeah,
Too. That was the big issue. I love working at night. That's why I love delivering pizzas. I work till midnight, 1 in the morning, without a problem. 10-hour shifts, no problem. But waking up to go to this place and working an 8-hour shift when half the time I'm not doing too much labor intensive work, was draining. And yeah, so if I had work tomorrow, I would wake up at I would s- I would set my alarm for 4:35, 5:36 because it's just I need those 2 hours to wake up and get ready for the day. It's
God.
Yeah, it was tough. And then I would go into work by sometimes even 6:30 in the morning. I would be in there and start working right away. Get my lunch break at noon, get out at 3,
Were
come
you like
back home around.
exhausted during the day?
Was I what?
Were you tired during the day? Like by noon, by lunch? Like,
Um, no, the weird thing was that I was never tired at work. I wouldn't feel like any drowsiness or sleepiness,
yeah,
maybe like the first hour because it's still in the morning,
yeah,
But yeah, I would get home around 3:30 and then I would eat my whatever food is available. And by the time it's 4:35, that's when it starts hitting me. That's when I'm like really crashing down. Like if I laid in bed, I could go lights out and wake up the next morning.
oh my God.
Like, and I never experienced anything like that in my life, and I did not like it, not one bit. But now the difference between that and not being there at Husker anymore is that tomorrow I'm probably gonna wake up at around 7:30, eat a nice healthy breakfast, and then I know I have to go help my mom drop off her car at the mechanic shop. So a little quick obligation there. But as soon as I come back home, it'll probably be around 8:30. I'll start working on my real estate, let my food digest because I can't work out very early in the morning. I just get an upset stomach. It's not for me.
Yeah.
So I have to let my food digest for about 3 hours.
Oh my
So yeah, yeah, that's why I like working on the or at late afternoon, but I can't because I deliver pizzas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would eat my breakfast. I would do my schooling up until around 11:30. Then I go work out and shower, do all that stuff. By then it's around 1 to 2. And if I have enough spare time, I'll probably work on my car if I need to. I will take care of any other obligation. I'm still productive. If not, I'll keep doing real estate.
Mhm.
And by
What?
then,
So that's working to get your license, right? Or
right, yeah.
okay, is that just like a long, like intensive, like online class that you can do kind of whenever?
Yeah. So it's you can do it all online and it's basically at your own pace.
Yeah.
It's a 72-hour course that you can work on for however long as you want, whatever day of the week. And as long as I'm pretty sure there's a cap off of 1 year where if you don't get it done in 1 year, you
Yeah.
basically just have to repay. But like I'm
You
gonna get it done before then. Like if you can't get that done within a year, then that's a
shouldn't
whole
be
nother
doing
issue.
it.
Then yeah, you aren't in the right job field. But yeah, by the time I'm done with delivering pizzas, it's already like the earliest I get out is like 8, 9 p.m. And then, I just start closing down for the night and I go to bed and I
Was that
feel like,
for Domino's or?
yeah, yeah, I deliver the pizzas for Domino's.
Yeah.
And yeah, in my old little beater, 2008 Kia Spectra X. Yeah. Picked it up for $950. It was a steal.
Yeah, get her done.
Um, oh
Well,
yeah.
what's going on? How's the TT?
Um, it's sitting in my garage right now.
Still
I
a work in
realize,
progress?
yeah, I still gotta do some fix up some timing in it. I gotta redo the timing chains on the camshafts and put on the timing belt, which probably not a lot of people understand, but for those that do understand, they know it's a lot of work. Um, but yeah, I still gotta do that. And then as soon as I'm done fixing that, I'm gonna sell it because what I want to do later in life is it goes hand in hand. I want to be, hopefully, if everything goes well, I want to be a landlord. And being a real estate agent kind of goes hand in hand with that too.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me that like I want to be a landlord and I want to be an agent. And I was like, I can do both. I basically work full time as an agent, and on the side, I just manage these properties. And I realized this is something I could definitely do.
Mm.
So I've just been living super like frugally lately because I'm trying to save that money for the down payment. That's
Yeah,
the only thing stopping me. So yeah, as soon as that TT is fixed up, getting rid of her, selling it,
yeah.
just adding it to my savings for the down payment. I'm basically going all in. All my savings is going onto this down payment.
Wow. But you're gonna want to get a job, like a so once you get the license, have you looked into kind of what the first steps are to becoming an agent? Because you wouldn't be an independent agent. You would have to work,
No, no,
yeah, you would have to work with
no. So what I gotta do is, once I got my license, I am basically going to find either a firm or a broker. And so, a firm, you'll get hired and then basically you just work for the company. But if you find a broker and they're independent, then basically what the broker does is that they're kind of like the boss of like this team of agents.
it. Hmm.
So basically, if you're a new real estate agent and this broker is basically wants you on their team, they can sign off on your final exam that you've taken from the state. Okay, so every state has their own different tests that you take.
Right.
Right. So like once you get your schooling done, then you take the practice exam. If you pass that, then you are eligible to go to a specific location in your state to take the test, which is monitored, of course. If you pass that, then you find a broker or a firm to sign off on that, and then you become. So you basically have to work for someone when you first start.
Right.
You can't be independent right off the bat,
Yeah, of course.
which is yeah, which is a good thing because you
And you
can't be
can learn
independent
too. Yeah,
because
you can learn from the
right.
basics. Yeah.
Yeah, that it goes hand in hand because you can't be independent right away because you don't have the experience.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is either find a firm or a broker, work with them for a few years, hopefully gain the experience and knowledge that I need to work as an independent agent for myself. And basically from there on, I get as much of a salary as much as of work I'm willing to put in.
Hmm.
And that right there alone motivates me a lot. Like right now, it's motivating me to get the schooling done because I know that I'm a good worker. I know that if I set my mind to something, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why I don't want to work for corporate America is because I do an exceptionally well job, I would say. Like when I left Husco, the manager that was in charge of me, he said, if you ever want to come back, we are more than happy to have you as a full-time lab technician. Like we would want you back if
Yeah.
you asked for it.
Well, I'll speak
Like
on behalf of Austin and say that we'd want you back at Superior Services too.
thank you. I appreciate that. I know I can get my shit
Yeah,
done.
you
So
always
that's
got a job there.
all right. Yeah, sounds good, man. If I ever want to go back into landscaping, I'll definitely hit you or Austin up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't want to work for a firm. I want to find a broker because I want to stay away from working for a company.
Yeah.
I just want to like
You want
work as
nothing to do with
independent
working
people.
for the man.
Uh-uh. Even if that man is a broker, that's fine because they're only in charge of a few people.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically my plan. And I know I'll do good. I know I can do it because I know that I'm passionate about it and I know that this is where I want to go in life. So of course I'm gonna try my hardest in this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like there's no other choice. It's like what
Hmm.
whatever. But
Yeah.
but honestly, it's like I feel like when you quit the corporate world and very few kids I think our age actually have like experienced it like other than you. Like like
Hmm.
you're one of the only kids our age that has already had some experience in the corporate world.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's like, I mean, I always knew that I was never good. I was always like not about that. Like I never even had a job. Like I worked like 2 times at the golf course and I hated it. But like I was
Hmm.
like, you should never like have to. I hate saying like I have to do this. I just want. You should always say like I'm gonna do this. Like I never want
Right.
to. Nobody should be obligated to do anything. You know what I mean? Like you
hmm
even if you do work for someone, you shouldn't feel like you're obligated to. You should feel like you're doing it because you want to do it.
Right. And because of that, then you do such a better job because you think you're doing it for yourself, which just adds up on each other. It just builds off of each other.
Yeah, yeah, and I've talked about this in the past on this podcast. It's like when you're not working for someone and you're working for yourself, you start to regain your sense of self or further your sense of self because
hmm
you got no one else. Like you got nobody's telling you what to do on a day-to-day basis. Like you have to be completely, you know, independent from other people and able to kind of you have to be self-motivated. Like you have to find a way to motivate yourself. And that's it's not for most people. Like it's
Right.
hard, but for the people that it works for, I mean, it's beautiful. Like you
Right. Exactly.
are, that
You
are,
got
yeah,
you just gotta go for it. And like that's another thing I want to talk about is basically after high school getting a higher form of education. Like I'm not completely against like going to college or getting your 4 years, 2 years, whatever. I'm not saying that I'm against it. What I'm saying is that a lot of people go into college because that's what the norm is and because that's what the expectation is. And I remember I was talking to my manager on the last day of my job. He said that it took him until he was 26 years old, 4 different occupations to realize what he actually wanted to do. And could you imagine if I paid for my own schooling for mechanical engineering only to realize I didn't want to do it?
yeah,
Like that would really suck. Like I like for those of people that know what they want to do and they're good at it, go for it. Go for that higher education. But I can guarantee you the majority of kids nowadays going to college, that's something that they are probably not going to want to do in the next 10 years. I can guarantee you that. They're gonna not want to work what they're doing. They're gonna be in debt and they're gonna be forced to keep working in this job field that they don't want to because they have all these debts to pay. So then you're stuck in this endless loop of corporate America, of work your 40 years, then you retire, and you're stuck. You can't do anything about it. And that's why I absolutely went against going to get a higher level of education if I have to pay for it.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's necessarily all like as black and white as you're making it out to be because trust me, I was in this exactly same situation. Some of the earlier podcasts that I did in October is when I started. I was saying like the same shit, but dude, like I don't know, like it's every situation is different for every person. Um,
hmm
so for some people, I totally agree. Like there's a ton of kids here that are here because their families have a lot of money. You know, they're able to be sent to this beautiful campus. They're able to go, and then they go out every single weekend with their dad's credit card and blow $500 at clubs and fancy dinners and shit. So
hmm
there's there's those people, but then there's the people that are really taking advantage of all of the resources that the school has to offer. And that's I mean, I try to be in that category. And
hmm
I think there's a lot of kids that do know what they want to do, as you said, that if you want to be a doctor, you don't really have a choice. Like
Right.
you have you want
You
to be
you
an
need
engineer, you have
uh
now, I've taken a completely different route, and I used to hate on this so much, but I've decided to be an entrepreneurship major. And that's something that I used to say, why the fuck would anyone like, because I didn't know what I wanted to major in. I'd be like, why
hmm
would anyone, you can't teach entrepreneurship. And it's easy to say these things from the outside looking in, but when you actually get into it and you look at kind of the curriculum, like that, I didn't want to do like finance. Like I've never been good with numbers. I'm not mathy. Like I didn't want to just focus on like one thing. Like I didn't want to do marketing. I don't want to work for anyone. Like it's the same situation. But college will introduce you to things that you wouldn't have otherwise been introduced to. And
yeah.
part of that, honestly, is just living in a different place, living in a very different place. And I think that
hmm
you know, if you have the opportunity to do it and you feel like it's what's best for you in the current moment, then I would say, take advantage of it. And it's not necessarily what you learn, because I doubt that there's going to be a ton that I learned here in college that I'm really going to be able to apply to like my everyday business ventures. It's about the experience you have and how they shape you into like a different person than you would have been if you had remained, um, first of all, kind of in the same place and doing the same thing. Like honestly, if I wasn't here right now, I'd probably still be working with Austin. Like, and that's again, like it's not for me. And I'm still part owner. I'm still like an actual entrepreneur. Like I'm part owner in that.
Hmm.
We got ketchup, please, but it's still it's situation by situation. Like ketchup, please.
Yeah,
It's not at a
I,
point where we're ready to like completely take that leap of faith.
mhm. I completely agree with you. Yeah, it really it does unlock new doors. For those of you, like I said, like for those people that wants to do it, more power to you. You know, like that's good that you know what you want to do. But
I was talking
all
to
I'm saying is,
I was talking to a kid he's from Pakistan actually. I had him on the podcast last time, but he was saying,
uh,
we were talking about this and we were talking about the amount of kids. Obviously, this is the only experience I have, but the amount of kids, I was just like, I'm really like, I'm excited to see what these kids do, like what they're doing 4 years from now when college is over, because I grind when I'm here. Like I'm not really going out I rarely go out. Like I haven't even been to a club. Like these kids going to clubs like 2 days. Like I haven't even been because I don't want to. I have no aspiration to.
mhm.
So it's like these kids are literally treating this like a 4 year vacation, and it's because a lot of them have like a safety net. Like their families are very. Well, I don't want to generalize, but like
Of course.
there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money.
Yeah, of course. Like I agree with that. Like a lot of these kids, they come from wealthy families that they can just blow it off like that. But for other people that are not so fortunate, they understand the struggle. They have to be there to work.
Right.
And I am really interested in that too. I want to see like I'd be interested in watching a podcast of you interviewing like a party goer at your
Mm.
university and see what their plans are for the future. Like, don't give them any preparation time. Like, straight up ask them on the spot on the podcast and be like, "So, what are your future plans?"
Yeah.
I would be very interested in learning as to what they're going to do.
Yeah, it's funny because my dad said the same. Like I've had a lot. I usually have like more so like entrepreneurial people in general. If I'm going to generalize who's on this podcast, I have
Okay.
different, but it's more so people that are kind of doing their own thing, ambitious, like. But yeah, my dad was like, you should just have like a Jersey like frat guy, like,
Oh
just,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it would be interesting. Um,
that
and,
would be,
and the
but
one thing that I've found is like the situations that I'm in that I do go out that I'm at like a party or that if I'm at like a bar or something, like it's just very shallow conversations. It's like
mhm.
you I always say like if you're at a club or if you're at a party, like yeah, I feel like I have the same conversation, the same like 30-second conversation like 50 times
Mhm.
because and that's one of the things that I'm excited about being back home because like I'm not like a fake person like if I like I'm not gonna act like I'm best friends with you if like I just met you like a month ago and like we haven't
Mhm.
you know there it's hard for me to really have like super in-depth conversations with a lot of the people here because I just don't know them that well. And I'm not going to have some fake surface level
Right.
conversation. Like,
Huh. And like, yeah, and it's not like I'm talking down about these party goers. Like I know this one incredible woman. She is in her senior year of college and she wants to be a doctor. She has really good grades. She bartends almost full time and she still goes out partying every weekend, but she manages it all. So I'm not talking down on people who drink or smoke or anything like
We
that.
should be the last people to do that.
Yeah, I know. Because what I find more valuable is if you can still manage to get your responsibilities done and be a good person in society, like be a
No,
good
I feel
Samaritan.
like school, I would always think about that. Like, I feel like school, like in high school and stuff, I felt like school was always like telling you like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't swear. Like,
Right,
how about just don't be a bad person? How about like don't be a fucking douchebag?
right,
Like
exactly.
look at
Being,
half the fucking teachers. Half the teachers are douchebags. Like, don't tell
dude,
me what to do. Like,
like, I can guarantee you, some of those teachers, if they go home and they start drinking and they crack open a beer, or like after they get done telling some like 18-year-old kid, "Hey, you can't drink," they go home, they crack open a beer.
yeah,
Like, and it's crazy how there's just laws like that. Like, I forgot which country it was, but I remember I watched this documentary about a specific city in this country. I wish I remembered which one, but they didn't just decriminalize all drugs and alcohol, they legalized it, which meant it was government mandated, which meant like the government had control over what was on the market, which meant there weren't there wasn't any drugs that was tainted with anything like fentanyl or anything like that, nothing dangerous. So people were able to use these drugs and not be scared for their own lives, and they weren't
yeah,
overdosing and dying. And actually, crime rates fell. Jail housing was increasing because there were less incriminated people, and more tax dollars were able to go to schools, healthcare, and
I
it
believe,
worked. It really worked.
yeah, yeah. I watched
It,
a really interesting podcast. It was a Joe Rogan on it. I don't know if you've seen it. I think the guy's name was Dr. Carl Hart. He's a
uh-huh.
black dude with dreads, but he was talking about how he does heroin like 4 or 5 days a
Oh,
week.
yeah,
But
I
he's like
listened
a
to that
doctor,
one.
and he has like a book on like all these different drugs. Like he's a very active drug user, but he's like
Oh
fit.
yeah.
He's mentally fit because he's like
Oh
doing
yeah.
them in a safe manner. Like I just feel like there's such a whole like negative connotation around like there's
There is.
this demonization of drugs and alcohol. Like literally
I of
like dare,
course.
like whatever, like there's all these programs and yeah, I agree. Middle schoolers shouldn't be doing that. But at some
Mhm.
point, like,
At some point, people will like be introduced to stuff and be given the choice of are you going to or not.
and I would
It's
rather have
just a
my
matter
kid
of when.
when I have kids, like I'd rather have my kid be doing it safely. Like my parents were it's the same way. Like it's I'd rather have them be doing it safely than to be fucking, getting to
And
college and getting hazed at a frat party and they'd never drank before or some shit.
exactly, of course. And I do the one thing I want to point out from that podcast, because I did listen to that while I was at work like a few months back. And I remember that one really stood out because that person, that guy that was on the podcast, the guest, I forgot his name. What was it again?
I think it's Carl Hart, I think.
Okay.
That's just off the top
Yeah.
of my head, I think.
Uh-huh. But I just remember like one thing they said that really stood out to me was this man from Ohio who was working a steady job. He had a 40 hours a week, a factory worker, and he didn't have a family. He just had his own home and everything like that. And he got caught with I forgot what, I think it was opioids.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like endangering himself or anyone else. He was a good citizen, and he got incriminated, and he started losing his shit. Like literally, he went crazy, and he had to go to
Like,
rehab and all this
they
stuff
took him right off
because,
drugs.
right, because he had to be sober and had to go clean. It really messed up with his like with how his brain was hardwired, because what he said was, if you do like cocaine, like do a line or two a day, but you are getting your shit done and you are a good person, why would you take that away and ruin it? It's obviously working for that person.
Yeah.
So why would you make them go to jail,
Yeah.
pay with their own time and money, and then they come out and they can't use that anymore? So now they're stuck with living a life of jail time, which means they lost their own time, and which is super valuable. Time is always valuable because everyone gets 24 hours a day, but it's just a matter of how you use it
It was a
too.
very radical, it was a very radical stance on drugs.
It was, but
Joe talks a lot about psychedelics and stuff, but not,
he does.
I don't think he's ever advocated for like, heroin and like meth,
Oh no,
oh,
no.
like Carl Hart was. I want to make sure that that's the guy's name.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
I do remember he did say some stuff that I kind of disagreed with. I was like,
well,
because he would say that he'd be like, yeah, why can't you just use heroin like five
and
times
that's
a
the
day?
thing.
I was like, I mean, like
He's
maybe like
like, yeah, when I do TV interviews, I like to do heroin the night before, so I have like a little bit of a heroin
yeah,
hangover.
and
Like,
I was just
I mean,
like,
I'm not like, I don't know. That's about
it's
Joe Rogan. Like, and I think Walgren actually told me this because we were talking about Joe Rogan senior year, and he said
mhm,
that, oh yeah, I used to listen to him, but now it seems like he just kind of agrees with everything his guests say. And I thought that's kind of true. Like, he
yeah,
never like you Joe Rogan. Like, I've watched some like videos of him getting in like arguments with his guests, and those are
mhm,
entertaining. But that rarely
oh yeah.
but anyway, yeah, back to drugs.
Hmm. Yeah. Plus, I feel like it just slowly became like cultured because like high school is everyone thinks like high schoolers like drink and party on the weekends, so it becomes culturalized. It becomes normalized to rebel against your parents, to rebel against society and laws, to go out and drink, and that was the expectation. If you want to be popular and cool, you had to be one of those kids that go out and party all the time,
Exactly.
drinks all the time.
And that's what I've met some kids here. Like, I just saw a kid that I know that walked by. He's from like Jamaica, and like I've met kids from like the Dominican Republic, and I've met kids from like fucking Germany and shit. Like, places where they've been like drinking and smoking like a lot longer than people where we're from have. Like literally, 12, 13 years old. And that's normal. Like, Germany,
Hmm.
drinking's legal at 16, I think.
Yep, it
Like,
is.
and yeah, because it's legalized and because it's not demonized. Legalize it, stop demonizing it. Like,
Exactly.
that's why
And
their kids aren't getting in trouble. Like, it's just normal. It's part of life.
right, it is a part of life. It's you can't like send kids to jail for like for having a case of beers in the back or something like that. You just that's like I'd say uncalled for because most sometimes some of these kids are like aspiring doctors or engineers. Like I can guarantee you, um, you go talk to anyone that seems professional. I would say like by that I mean they got their shit together. They they are making good money. They know what they're doing in life. I can guarantee you at least 75% of those people drank in high school. They did stuff in high school that they would rebel against society and laws, their parents. And that's just because it happens. It's a part of nature. Everyone does it.
Yeah. I think
And
as long as you're not, I mean, this is pretty much goes for anything. Like, as long as you're not hurting anyone, do what makes you happy.
right.
Honestly, like,
Yeah, of
don't
course that
be
goes with
drinking and
anything.
don't be drinking and driving. Don't be like
Yeah.
shooting BB guns at each other. Wait,
Yeah, of course. Of course, that's way different. If your enjoyment impacts the lives of others negatively, then that's something wrong. Then that's something that should not be happening. But if
you
it's the
become like
opposite,
totally dependent on the alcohol or the drugs, or
that
you know,
too,
you happy then that's fucked.
that that too. But as societies, people tend to do the right thing if they are given the freedom of will and choice. And I feel like that can go for anything just about because like for one, I'd say I'm a huge gun advocate and the I can guarantee you like it's of course it's such a tragedy that people are getting killed by the masses as well. Like you see all these mass shootings throughout the news. Of course they're tragic, but that's probably like the 0.01% of gun owners. The majority of people that own guns are good citizens that know how to handle their weapons and use it responsibly. It's just the very small percentage gets brought to light, and it demonizes guns in general. And it shows, because I do agree that they are too easy to obtain. I do agree we need stricter gun laws, but not wipe them out completely. We need them because, for example, the White House is protected by people with guns, and they're saying we don't need guns to protect ourselves. You need them because the majority of people in society are good citizens and they know how to do the right thing.
Well, I don't think a ton of people are saying that we should wipe out guns completely. I think the best, well, that's the other problem, is that everything is so polarized nowadays. It's like you either have to be super left or super right. Like Donald Trump versus like Bernie Sanders, it's two very, very opposite ends. Like talking
Yeah.
my, you know, my grandpa and my dad and people that lived back in like the 1990s, 1980s, like people, like everything was just much more modern. Everyone was much more moderate and things actually got done. There wasn't such a divide. That's why I hated the voting season, like this past fall. Like I fucking hated it. I didn't want to hear any, because it was all you heard. Who are you? Team Trump, Team Biden? Motherfucker, I'm neither. I'm not voting for shit because I don't want to. I don't believe in either of them. Like I don't. Everything. Society makes you feel like you're obligated to take a stance in things when you can always just be like, nah. Like you don't necessarily have to side with one or the other. Like this world is always painted out to be all fucking black and white, and it's just not the reality.
I completely agree with you on that. I forgot what news source I saw this from, but it showed that more than 50% of Americans, which means like if you get more than 50%, obviously that's the majority. So you have the majority of Americans that hate the two-party system. They literally hate having to decide between Democrat or Republican because none of the majority of Americans want to do that because they don't agree with either side. They just want America to be better and not have to go through this whole political debate and like it just becomes like public figures and manipulation, in my opinion. And that's what the majority of America feels.
It's a popularity contest.
Exactly. And the issue with that though is that we can't, it's really hard for us to do something about it because everyone feels like they only think that way. Like the majority of Americans are thinking they hate the two-party system, but what they don't know is that the majority of Americans hate that, and they think that they're alone and that they only think the way they think and no one else does. And it's also impossible to like really do anything about that because not one single person can change the two-party system. It takes the whole movement of the country as a whole unit and move in unison to help reform the party system. Because like what was it? The founding fathers even stated that the two-party system would break the economy, that would ruin America, because it would just become so divided and become like such like celebrity figures are now getting involved, and it's just a huge issue because they impact voters, they impact their decisions, and these voters aren't properly educated, and they're just voting on who they think is just better because that's what everyone else is saying.
Exactly. If nothing else, it creates this weird like group thought ecosystem where everyone feels like they have to side with what everyone else is siding with. Like people will post shit on their Instagram story just for like the status of like, oh yeah, I'm saying something about that shooting. That's a bad example, but you know, like
no,
like
if you need examples, I know a prime example of this. So at my job, one of my coworkers, super conservative, and it was really interesting talking to him because I remember him saying this thing that I went against his belief, that I really went against. I'm trying to remember it right now, but I remember we were talking about gender roles. Yeah, I remember. It was about gay pride marches, and I'm not gonna say any names, just out of respect for him, but he did say that he was like, gosh, these gay parades, I can't take them anymore. It just feels like they're shoving in my face. And why can't they just do them in silence like we do in silence too? And I stopped him right there. I said, hold on. You can't think that way, okay? Because you can live in silence for being a straight male because that's been the norm. But while you were growing up, all these people that were in the closet, they would get beat up for saying they're gay. Like stuff like that would happen. They would get murdered for being gay. It's happened. And I feel like these parades are helping people like come out of the closet, embracing who they really are without the fear of society being against them.
Mhm.
So that was a real conservative thought. And on the opposite end, a real liberal thought that I saw, even like the word liberal right there, that's such a negative connotation for Democrats.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I hate using that word. So I'm going to say this very democratic person I was talking to just this past weekend. And I remember him saying how scared he is to drive and get pulled over as a colored person because he's like, these were his words. He said, yeah, bro, I'm so scared to get pulled over now because I was like, I got pulled over, one of these white cops are going to shoot me. And I stopped him and I said, hold on a second. That is not true at all. I would say 99% of cops in America are good citizens.
Yeah.
It's only brought to light of the bad cops that are doing bad things. So
Yeah.
you get the two opposite ends of thinking that they just never see the other point of view.
Yeah.
And so and by not seeing the opposition view, it helps build on their own beliefs and they become so segregated for these beliefs and ideas. And that's the issue. They're just not educated in both sides.
And it hasn't always been this way. Like we were
Exactly.
once the United States of America.
Oh yeah. Cops killing people, like innocent people, that's been happening forever, okay? But it's only being brought to light now because people want to associate it with like racism, and like half the time when a colored person gets shot, it's because they weren't abiding with the police officer. It's because they were running away and it was for the cops' own safety. But people only see the side of the story they want to see. So then that helps them like think in that own way, and that helps fuel their rage and energy. Same goes for the other end of the spectrum. They start thinking their own ways. They go to news sources.
It's like just for that example, it's like the people on the left are gonna think every time the cop's racist, the people on the right are gonna think every time like the dude was like guilty. And it's
exactly
just not one or the other. Like it's case by case. Like
it is.
But it's so much easier. It's so much easier for people to like memorize what one side is thinking. So like our freshman year of high school, like everyone was super conservative and stuff. And I grew up like both my parents are more so on the left, so I just kind of naturally like sided that way. And I felt like I needed to like represent just the other side. But even then, like there was no acknowledgement between, me and them. Like, and that's a problem in and of itself, is that it's me versus you. It should be us trying to figure out what we can agree on and move forward with that. Like, and it was literally, it was me looking at like political posts from the left and like memorizing facts and stuff. And it was, people on the other side doing the exact same thing. It didn't make any sense.
Right, exactly, and that's the issue. And I'm gonna say I'm gonna say a crazy statement here. All right, I want you to react to this one. So, I believe that the two-party system is becoming more segregated nowadays because of corrupt politicians and the elite ultra rich wanting to stay in power by keeping us divided, keeping our minds off of them, rather than, because right now we're fighting each other, and that's what they want us to do. They want us to fight each other, keep the news on us,
Wait,
keep
so
the news away from them.
is this saying that like Joe Biden and Donald Trump are those elite people that are actually
I
working together?
I wouldn't say them exactly. I would. I can't. I'm not gonna say either one is trying to like destroy humanity or anything like that. I'm just saying that there are definitely there's definitely an organization of people that help influence these political decisions. Because, for example, one of them was this block in New Jersey that's in charge of supplying soldiers in the Middle East with weapons, and they basically make their money off war. And they are basically they're trying to keep news sources away from shedding light about how the Middle East, about how we don't even need to be in that war. It's not our fight at all. But they want us to stay in there because they want that money. Creating more war, more casualties means more money for them. It's also about business. I feel like this is all happening because people want to stay rich and get richer and keep their power. But I'm not saying names. I don't know exactly who is doing it. All I'm saying is that I truly believe there's an organization that helps influence political decisions to benefit their own persona, I'd say.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about it. Like, I've been out of politics, like, dude. Like, I haven't.
uh-huh.
I mean, but what I do know is the role that social media is playing in it, and that
Oh yeah.
like it's just so there's no such thing. There's just not accounts that are looking at the purple area, the red and the blue. Like there's
Hmm.
accounts that are trying to like unite people. Um,
Right.
on
Like
a political level. Like it's always divisive. Like there's this one account that everyone always sends the Sonder group, like the typical liberal or to the typical libtard or something. Like just that.
uh-huh.
Like the amount of kids, like even just like from that group chat, and the amount of kids from high school that are still thinking in that way, that black and white way. It's just like when I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna like realize like I see good and bad things on both sides. And so
Right.
it's just funny because like sometimes when I would be debating people in high school and stuff, like I don't even bother with it anymore. Like if you don't fucking get it by now, it's not worth my time. But like
I know.
when I would argue with people, like I would kind of just kind of play the devil's advocate and just kind of show the other point of view, and they would like agree with it. But
And then
then a couple hours later, like they're saying like the opposite of what they just agreed with.
only because other people are saying it and they just want to like be funny and stuff like that too. And then that just gets implemented into like an actual belief
Yeah,
over time.
yeah.
And yeah, that sucks. I hate that at all. I hate that completely because people aren't doing their own research. They aren't learning, they aren't fact checking themselves. They're just believing in what other people are telling them.
And
That's a huge issue.
I think that's especially prevalent. I think it's prevalent both in high school and out of high school because like either way, I think humans deep down want to have a sense of belonging. Like they want to have a sense
Hmm.
of being wanted by someone or some group. Um, and again, whether that's in high school trying to like fit in with some group, but even after high school, I feel like a lot of kids are kind of having potentially like struggling to find their sense of self because we're all doing like we're all having a very different lifestyle now than we've had for the past 18 years, so it's natural
Hmm.
to like so to try to fit in or to try to find like a crowd, people are just kind of naturally reverting back to those things, reverting back to those
Right.
those just like black and white ideals. That's
Exactly.
say
And social media and news in America is definitely doing not helping that at all. Like I remember I read this post about this man who grew up and was raised in Japan, and when he moved to America, the one thing that he was really struck by was why Americans watch so much news. Because Japan, no one watches the news. Everyone does research for themselves because they all learned that it's all propaganda, and America just hasn't realized that. And of course, like recently, you've heard about that undercover operation of CNN where they made it their objective to get Trump out of office and discredit him. Have you've seen about that, right?
Briefly.
Yeah, that's a prime example. Like I'm not trying to shoot down like any Democratic or Republican parties. All I'm saying is that these news sources are definitely corrupt to the point that they're only trying to get their guy in that office. They're trying to get their guy in so they make more money. Then it's all business. It's not for the greater good of the people.
Yeah.
And that is where we are failing.
Yeah. I I hate to say it, but I kind of just gave up on it. Like I kind of just like it's like what are we gonna do about it though? Like we can like I don't know, like tell as
I
many
know.
as possible, but it's such a small scale that it's like I'd rather spend my time building up like myself and my community and like that.
Exactly. That's the issue
You can like
too.
control what you can control and don't complain about things that you can't control. You know what I mean?
I know, like we're never gonna be able to say do, and like us too, we are never gonna be able to change anything like that. All we can do is focus on ourselves, and that's how I'm feeling right now too.
Yeah.
I'm just giving up on it. I'm just hoping that there will be someone that really changes all these issues in America. Because right now I'm just focused on myself because I want to live a good lifestyle. I want to live comfortably. I want to give back to my parents. I want to make sure that they have a place to live when they can't work.
Yeah.
Like I'm just focusing on me and who's around me because
Exactly.
I've given up on people who don't do their research and are just so one-sided and so close-minded.
Unfortunately, that's a vast majority of people these days.
I know, and it's really frustrating. It really is.
Yeah.
I just can't take it anymore.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. But
hmm
but yeah.
But yeah, that's why every day I try to do stuff that keeps my mind away from that. Like I said, I like to stay busy. I like to keep doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like like
I
even when
I don't like it when I just have like a few hours like in the middle of the day that are free. I don't like that anymore. Like I like it when my back is against the wall, like on phone calls and Zoom meetings, because I enjoy it. Like I like to be I like
mhm,
I like to be booked out because then I
of
feel
course.
more of a sense of purpose. It's like I think Mike Milam's senior quote was, or so I don't know if it was a senior quote or something. He said, um, "A man who walks fast is a man with purpose." But I mean, it makes sense, like if you're
Of course.
hustling in life and you're trying to get to the next thing, while also being content with what you have. I think that's the whole thing.
Right.
It comes down to balance. It comes down to balancing, you know,
hmm
the grind, the hustle, trying to move forward with the enjoyment, the partying, the time that you spend like with friends and family. It just comes down to everything in life revolves
hmm Oh yeah. Like I completely agree with that. Like one of my coworkers at Husco, he I remember him telling me because we were just talking about life. He was this older guy. He was in the Marines for 8 years. He served in the Iraqi war. Like this guy he's tough. He's a badass. He's been to war. He's done all that. And he's like, I'm pretty sure he's late 30s, about 40 years old now. So he definitely has a lot to say. Um, I just remember him saying that because I asked him, I said, like, do you or like I told him you don't have to answer this if you feel uncomfortable, but like, do you specifically or any of your like friends or like military buddies, which he called brothers because they were basically brothers, they fought together, they lived together, they ate together, did everything together. So I asked them, do you guys like go through any mental crisis or anything like that? Like, how are you still happy? Um, because and then he told me, well, I because he loved being in the military. He loved it so much. It was definitely if he said if he could do it the rest of his life, he would have. But he got hurt during the war. He just couldn't do it anymore, and wasn't physically capable of it. And I asked him, how are you still happy, like not doing what you want to do in life? Like what makes you get out of bed? What makes you go to work? What makes you motivated? And he told me that what really motivates him is his free time that he cherishes with his wife and his two dogs. He doesn't have any kids, no family. He just has a wife, two dogs. And he said that he's happy with his life. He loves what he does for a
Yeah.
job. Like, good for him, you know. And he told me that he keeps his head up high because of the morals and values that he was raised up on. So because of his parents and because of what the military taught him and because of his wife and his dogs. Because when he gets out of work, you know, he works for them, right? He's working towards providing for them, right? So it gives you sense of fulfillment that we were talking about earlier. And he told me that you can't just do all work. Like, you got to take that break every now and then. Because
Right.
what's the point of working all your life? What's the point of getting that bread? What's the point of doing all that if you're just not going to spend it, you know?
Yeah.
What's the point of working all your life if you're not going to enjoy your retirement?
Yeah.
What's the point in life if you're going to work 40 hours a
Have
week?
any
Just,
relationships?
yeah, right. Like, you need to be able to spend that money that you earned. You need to be able to spend what you have worked for. And
Yeah.
he said that's what keeps him happy because he's definitely living his life to the fullest. He goes out on vacation with his wife anytime he can. Anytime he has free time, he's doing something for himself. Like,
Yeah.
whether that's mowing the lawn, whether that's going out to dinner. He's never sitting around watching TV.
I think
He's
it's
always doing
genuinely
something.
for most people, for 99% of people, it's really other people that make them happy. Like,
Right.
and that's like, I guess like I have my closest friends are there, and I have a few friends here, but I again like I grind down here, and I spend a lot of time by myself. But even just like I was FaceTiming Austin the other day, and then like he pulled up to Fontaine's house, and they were like playing basketball, and I was talking to Carson a little bit. But even just after that, like I just felt like I felt automatically I just felt better. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
That's
I
it's weird because it's like just like a 10-minute, 15-minute FaceTime call, like completely like shifted like my mood.
oh yeah. Like, I completely agree with that too. Like, I remember um what was it? You know, our buddy Cole. Um I remember I just like got out of work. Like, you know, it was like a Wednesday midweek. I was exhausted, mentally exhausted. I just felt so down on myself. I remember he called me up. We were talking for 10 minutes, and it reminded me of why I'm still working, why I'm still alive.
Makes
It's
you
because
rooted, makes you grounded. Yeah.
yeah, it's because I enjoy the people I'm around with. And that's what my coworker also said, that when he got out of his 8 years, he was depressed. He did have suicidal thoughts, but he kept thinking, I have to live for my mom and my dad and for everyone else that's important in my life. Because for the most tragic, if the worst tragedy comes, if I end up taking my own life, that will devastate everyone who has known me or is around me. And he does not want that burden on anyone around him because he loves them so much. So he had to keep living for them. And eventually that turned into living for himself. So that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and that's what's necessary. I mean, it comes down to living for yourself. I was also listening to another podcast and just looking up Marcus Luttrell. Have you seen The Lone Survivor, that movie?
No, I have not.
I haven't seen it either, but I listened to his podcast, and he's like an ex-Navy SEAL, and basically I think they were in Afghanistan, and like everyone that he was deployed with ended up dying except for him, and he was talking with Joe for like 3 hours, and I listened to every single minute of it, but I was saying
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. It's like after going through that, after losing your brothers like right in front of you, after seeing these people die, after going through this shit, like how is this guy, he's talking so fluidly about it, and he's talking as if he's just matter of fact about it. I'm like, how can you, like, I know that they were pounding a bottle of whiskey, but it's like at the same time it's like he's had to have he's had to have found himself, um, because he's lost like everything else. He's lost these people that were so close to him, and he had to have kind of regained his sense of self and sense of like purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy, and it's kind of, it's all about perspective. It's like that makes me feel so grateful. You know what I mean? Like to hear what some other people need to go through, have to have and have gone through. Like we are very, very privileged.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
makes you grateful. It makes you have a lot more kind of perspective on the bigger picture.
Oh yeah. If you just understand the hardships that other people have gone through, like for example, someone who is disabled to the point where they need a full-time caregiver and they can't go out for themselves, they
Yeah.
can't do anything for themselves. And just thinking about that, sure that they could be happy, but I'm not talking down on anyone who's disabled like that. Like that's good for them if they're happy, you know. But that goes to show that you like even basic human functions like having two legs and walking, not everyone has that. And
Yeah.
it's just
There's
something
people
you see
that are
that's so common.
sleeping on dirt floors, dude.
Right. Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Like what was it? I forgot that what was it? Oh yeah, I was watching this show and it was like this guy who was raised in like this monastery and basically like he went from rags to riches and he was like in this five-star like hotel suite. He like couldn't sleep in any of these comfortable like beds, so he just went on this hardwood floor and slept like a baby in the middle of a room because you have so little in life that you appreciate the greater things in life. You appreciate everything you have. And that's something that's hard to do nowadays because everyone's walking around with TVs, cell phones, cars, that you don't appreciate them anymore because they're just so common.
It's like so many people, like imagine they would feel like fish out of water if you just take a cell phone away from
Yeah.
them.
Oh
There's
yeah.
on
Good.
this earth that will never see a cell phone in their whole life.
Hmm.
That's
Right.
it's fucking crazy.
It is. And like and there's crazy world issues that are going on that people just don't know about because in America we're such in this little bubble that we're only focused on ourselves that we never pay attention to like what actually happens out in the real world, like in other countries that are less fortunate, less wealthy, live in more poverty. Like what was it? I remember this clothing line that went under fire. I wish I could bring up all these names, but I just remember it was this clothing line that people stopped buying from because some of the clothes that people were getting shipped out to, they would be receiving like they would have like blood stains on them. And sometimes they would have signs saying like help me because these clothes are coming from sweatshops from people that were being tortured
Yeah.
and all you think is, "Ooh, that one looks nice. I'll buy that." Yeah, in the mail, you don't think of where it came from, of like the kids that are being worked 16 hours a day, getting paid 5 cents a day, and you don't even think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, this was an interesting case study because the one of my classes that I'm taking right now is called effective altruism. So it's basically like how can we do the most good? Like how can we maximize the amount of good that we do in our lives? And there's an interesting case study about like particularly like sweatshops. And basically
Mm-hmm.
its conclusion, it was like it was asking like, okay, yeah, so there's these like Nike and Adidas and all these big companies like using sweatshops overseas. You got to think about what would happen otherwise. So it's like, is the value of those sweatshops being there like, is that if is that like better than them not being there at all? Like per the amount of jobs that these, it was just really an interesting perspective that I never thought about. Like people are always like thinking about sweatshops and they always have a negative connotation, but it's like this book, like the founder of the effective altruism movement was basically saying that if sweatshops didn't exist, there would be millions of people that wouldn't have jobs. It was a really kind of interesting
That yeah, I
point of
was just thinking that too. That is a real interesting take because yes, some of these people do make a living through sweatshops, and that's the only way they can make a living. It's the only way they can earn any form of currency. And if you take that away, then probably all this clothes I'm wearing would probably be like quadruple in price because you're paying people at a minimum wage in America. If you had these factories based in America, we have laws in place that we have to, like, take care of our employees and workers and all that. So I can guarantee you we would not be able to afford any of the stuff that we're wearing too.
We got to think at like a global view of it. Like people are so Americanized in our way of thought that yeah, we think America is like the world, but like
Hmm.
yeah, I had like I think someone from Dominican Republic in my class, and she was just saying that like a lot of these people are just like literally out on the street selling like pieces of fruit for like cents. Like it's just not the same. It's not anywhere near the same economy as the United States. So
Right.
a lot of these,
Hmm.
again, like a lot of these jobs are a lot better than what the alternative would be.
Yeah, that is true. That is true because yeah, because in these like less wealthy countries that are less fortunate, um you could probably buy a lot more with a nickel than you can in America.
Exactly. Yeah.
So these people working in these sweatshops that are probably getting like $1 a day is probably the equivalent of like $75 a day for them.
Yeah. I mean, it could still even be like a lot less, but just in
It,
general,
it could.
people are just in like just getting a lot less money in general. Like there's a lot less money being
Hmm.
in general. Um, and
Right.
if it brings them, above that poverty line, or even if it's a little bit more than they would have had otherwise, then
Hmm.
is what it is. But yeah, it
Yeah, of course
was a new point of view.
there yeah, like, and that just goes to show that, of course, like everyone, as individuals, we all battle through our own issues day to day, whether that's because we lost like whether it's because we're facing a foreclosure on the home, whether it's because we can't find a job. And that can escalate anywhere from those issues to world issues like trade, like that one ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal or whatever, it halted like $6 billion worth of goods for like a week. Like then there's bigger issues like that. That goes to show that I seriously believe that the world or any country at all will ever reach a full utopia because humans are just imperfect.
Yeah, no.
A utopia means
Well,
everyone's perfect,
what would the world be if it was
right?
like
Exactly. Like I feel like we would go crazy if the world was perfect because if in a perfect world, like we don't have to work, we get everything handed to us, then what's the
even
point of
though I can't imagine like that's the weird thing, and I think this is the last topic we should touch on before we wrap things up. But I think
all right.
how could heaven be better than this? Because and it goes hand in hand because it's like the imperfections of earth and the imperfections of society make it perfect. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
like the without the fucking shitty times, without the bad in the world, without the pain and agony that you go through when you're like in a workout, the post workout wouldn't feel so good.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. You need the bad to appreciate the good. But if it's all good, you don't appreciate any of it. And then I just feel like you'll go crazy, you'll become depressed, you'll probably end up taking your own life
Even like the
because
worst
you're not.
possible things, even the death of a loved one, like not everything. Okay, of course, like there's never all it's not always happy endings, but like in a lot of cases, like death of a loved one ends up making people stronger people. And it makes them
Yeah, like of
really
course,
like
over time, like it maybe like for like as long as they need, maybe it might be like a week, 3 months. Yeah, it'll suck. Life will definitely suck for them because they lost someone that they truly loved with all their life. But in the end, once you get past that phase, then you start to appreciate your own life more. You start to appreciate the lives around you more. You just learn from it. We become better people by going through the bad.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It just I don't know. Like I mean, I've always religion is just weird to me. It's like it's these organized religions, and it kind of goes back to the politics thing. It goes back to people wanting to feel like they're part of something. And
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, do you want to talk about one more topic real quick? Because I do have another thing I want to talk about.
yeah,
Okay. I believe um religion was created either by man or by alien be to in hopes so people look forward to the afterlife. Because without religion, we wouldn't have set morals to follow. We don't have set a set guide to life. People would just go crazy, like, what do we do in life? Like what happens? But I feel like either someone or an extraterrestrial being invented religion. I seriously do believe I believe it more so that aliens made religion just to help a sense for people to have something to not so worry about death, to have some moral guidelines, to keep yourself sane
I mean,
throughout
even
life.
if it was people that did it, it would make sense. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's just
Mhm.
these people trying to put something so big that into like a book that people can digest and comprehend.
Right.
And
Exactly.
now I think that religion is overall good.
It is.
Like the amount of people that it positively impacts, the amount of people, if it makes you a better person in your day-to-day life. Like if you follow the golden rule, like at the end of the day, everyone treat others like you want to be treated. It's that
Yeah,
simple. And
of
that's
course. Like,
classic Christian rule. Like, but and there's classic rules across all religions. Um, but yeah, I think overall it's good. But I mean, I'm not gonna say that I'm one or the other, one religion or the other.
oh yeah, of course. I'm in a weird, I would say I'm in a weird gray area. I don't believe in religions that are known to mankind, but I do believe that there is a higher power or
Yeah,
higher being or higher form that no religion has
we're like
touched on.
we're spiritual. Like yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
that's what I believe. I don't believe that one religion is correct because how can there be so many different religions and all of them are saying that they're the only ones that are correct?
Yeah, I know.
Like that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I agree. I don't get it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as long as people can figure out what works for them, what makes them happy while they're here on earth. If
Right.
they want to believe that there's an afterlife, then and that makes them, happier while they're here. Or if they want to believe that there's not an afterlife and that makes them feel like they have to max out their time here,
Hmm.
we at the end of the day, no one knows. Like we can say that we know, we can say that we
Right.
don't know, or we can say that there is a God and there's an afterlife. We can say that there's not a God, there's no afterlife. But at the end of the day, no one fucking knows. Like we're all
Yeah.
agnostic. Nobody knows. Like nobody actually.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah, I do believe that it is a good thing that I feel like as long as people are nice to each other, treat each other with respect, be open minded, listen to other standpoints, viewpoints of other people, and understand that everyone has gone through deep shit,
Yeah,
then we will all be better as a society. And that's really what it comes down to. That's what I believe in.
definitely. I agree.
Hmm.
Thank you, Kenny, for being on.
All right.
I'll see you in a couple weeks here. I'll be down a week from Saturday, May 1st. So let's get together here.
Uh-huh.
I look
I'm
forward
looking forward to it.
and have more depth. I know we just had a 2 hour conversation, but
Really, too.
yeah,
For
I
like
know.
30 minutes.
Dude, that's why I fucking love this shit because I get into it and like all of a sudden 2 hours are gone. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, like yeah. Well, when you come on over, you can come over, so you can sit in this very room I'm in here, and we can go on and on, man. Like,
yeah,
there's just plenty of stuff I have to talk about, but I
yeah.
understand we gotta wrap it
Okay, the
up. And
best
yeah,
things in life happen. The best things in life, you just fucking lose track of time.
right,
You have no idea.
exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Like, but yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you when you get back in Wisconsin.
Peace, bro.
All right, see ya.